Cards get banned in Commander, and guess what? Bunch of people get angry. Cards get unbanned in Commander, and guess what? Bunch of people get angry. It's a magical world! Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, we are here today to discuss the Commander bannings and unbannings that have the Commander community going, that's magic internet to me, baby. That's what magic has become, just a anyways, we're going to talk about a few cards here. We're going to go over the reasoning behind what they've done. We'll talk about Commander philosophy. We're going to go into all of that good stuff. So I guess the best thing to do is to start out by talking about what has been banned, then we'll move into what's been unbanned, and then we'll go over the statement. So we'll talk about the cards individually, starting with the banned cards. Now we'll start with the one that people seem to have less of a problem with, but of course still have a problem with because this is the internet. Come on now. Come on now. So Iona, Shield of Emeria has been banned. Given that ban hammer, all right? What is Iona? Iona is a massive crazy angel that costs 3 white, 6 colors for a 7/7 flyer. When she enters the battlefield, you choose a color. Your opponents can't cast spells of the chosen color. Flavor text says, "No more shall the righteous cower before evil. No more shall Iona cower in Commander going, oh God, please don't destroy me." Although I guess you probably couldn't say that about a 7/7. It's not really cowering. Anyways, she showed up originally in the Zendikar block, is a very impressive and imposing angel with those crazy set of 6 wings and just flying with like bits of broken statues and things flying around her. Honestly, it's pretty messed up. I don't know if those are supposed to be Hedron chunks. Either way, Iona as a protector angel is very, very flavorful, man. The fact that it just goes, no more of that color. That's pretty crazy, honestly. The Shield of Emeria is kind of funny because Emeria is actually Emrakul. It's just Emrakul had been gone for so long, they started to worship Emeria as a god, and then you end up with like angels in service of gods that don't actually exist. That's kind of crazy. But anyways, this card got the ban hammer in Commander, and it's going to be fairly evident why. But anyways, let's talk about each card that got banned and unbanned, and then we will actually read the announcement out. So Iona's one of the cards that got banned. Now you know what that is. Paradox Engine's a more recent addition to Magic the Gathering. This one comes from Aether Hub. It's a 5 casting cost artifact, and whenever you cast a spell, untap all non-land permanents you control. Flavor text says, "One look at this glorious item convinced me that Kaladesh deserved my full attention. Sure enough, my time here has yielded exquisite fruit." And that's a quote from Tezzeret. This is in that time span where Tezzeret was taking over Kaladesh, claiming all of the inventions. It's pretty cool. Paradox Engine's a really interesting idea. It's, I don't know, it kind of makes me think of a perpetual motion machine concept-wise. The artwork, admittedly, is kind of when I look at it, it's just a contraption in a room. And sure, it's a nice looking room and it's kind of an intricate looking contraption, but it just, I don't know. There's just always been something about Paradox Engine where I've looked at the artwork and been like, I don't care. I don't care about the artwork. Overall, the power level of the card's pretty decent though. I mean, it's pretty funky, the stuff that you can do with this. This screams combo. Combo Lombo Ding Dong. And the third card that we're going to discuss is actually one that got unbanned and made people angry. And that's Painter's Servant. So Painter's Servant's an odd duck. It's an odd scarecrow. 2 colors for a 1/3 scarecrow. When it comes into play, choose a color. It's actually interesting to note that one card got banned that chooses a color, and one card that got unbanned chooses a color. There's an interesting kind of yin-yang-ish symmetry to that. I like it. So, all cards that aren't in play, spells, and permanents are the chosen color in addition to their other colors. It gathers hues from the twilight mist so that its master can paint a better world. That is some really interesting and evocative flavor text, in all honesty. It gathers hues from the twilight's mist. It gathers colors from mist so that its masters can paint a better world. That's pretty cool, honestly. And the artwork shows this lone scarecrow out in a field somewhere. I mean, he's got it looks like kind of like a sword over his shoulder. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the artwork. But can you imagine if they allowed this card and Iona to be in there together? Oh, by the way, all your cards in your hand, because this affects everybody. All your cards, yeah, they just happen to be this particular color you're no longer allowed to play. You can see why Painter's Servant and Iona were not allowed to coexist in the same environment. And Painter's Servant is probably most famous for its combination with Grindstone. If you don't know, you know what? Let's throw Grindstone in here too. I don't normally throw in these pieces, but it's interesting enough to note. Grindstone is a funky artifact. If you go ahead and take a look at what it does, you can see that it will actually mill your opponent's entire deck. If you have out a Painter's Servant, it makes everything, all the cards in the deck a particular color, and then Grindstone says mill their entire deck. And the artwork of Grindstone shows a human's head getting pushed down into a grindstone and being grinded away. Honestly, it's a ridiculous combo. So it's worth noting. But either way, these are the things that got banned and unbanned. Let us take a look at the actual documentation talking about these bans. So this is listed on mtgcommander.net in case you don't know where this information is usually gotten from. It says, the philosophy document update coalesces the important elements of how we think about the format into a concise and easily digestible set of ideals, answering the question, what is Commander? We haven't changed the underlying philosophy of Commander, and I'm actually going to talk about the philosophy of Commander after we read this. It's specifically intended to be something other than a tournament format in which players consider each other's experiences alongside their own. You'll notice that we eliminated categories for banning cards. We'd found that many folks misinterpreted them as hard criteria for banning as opposed to the guidelines we always considered them. There might be some common threads among banned cards, but the primary reason cards get put on the list is they challenge the positive experience we want to promote. I actually really like the way that they operate Commander. So the post continues. Paradox Engine is a card that's proven to be intensely problematic. Not only does it provide easy wins seemingly out of nowhere, it has demonstrated the potential to unintentionally wreck games. Easily inserted into any deck, it combines with cards which players already have heavy incentives to play, generating a great deal of mana with virtually no deck building cost. While we don't ban cards which are only problematic if you build around them, Paradox Engine has clearly demonstrated that it doesn't need to be built around to be broken. So this is a card that you can just slot into any deck because it's colorless, bam, put it into whatever deck, and it generates far too much advantage. So they've decided, you know what, this isn't a build around me card, this is just make everything better card, we're gonna yank it. After that, we've got Iona Shield of Emeria. Now on the surface, this is one where most of you probably saw how ridiculously easy it would be to argue that this one needs to go. So, Iona Shield of Emeria creates a negative experience for many players without the benefit of a positive application. We had previously considered its high mana cost sufficient to keep it from getting played, but deeper investigation demonstrated many ways of getting it onto the battlefield without paying that cost. Iona Shield of Emeria is also an exemplar as the type of card which creates an experience we wish to discourage, namely shutting players out of games. It is not fun in any way to be shut out of a game of Magic. And if you are playing a mono-colored deck, Iona shuts you out completely. Are you playing mono red? Great, you're done. Are you playing mono black? Great, you're done. It doesn't matter what color deck you're playing. If it's a mono experience, your experience is nothing now because you don't get to play. The post continues. Painter's Servant is a card that's been discussed for a long time, and it's time to take off the shackles. We feel as though there are now more weird and fun uses for the card than there are dangerous ones. The card will provide deck builders with some additional paths to explore in expressing their creativity. Many thanks to the Commander Advisory Group for the input and insights into putting together this update. Their presence continues to add great value to the format. Now, I do want to say this, because some people may not be aware of this. The Commander format is not ruled over by Wizards of the Coast. Yes, they do support it with supplementary products. So you have the Commander decks that come out each year that Wizards makes for this format. In fact, the Commander name came about because Wizards of the Coast wanted to have more of a direct hand in aiding the format. But they don't have direct control over it. Originally, the format was called Elder Dragon Highlander, if you're wondering what EDH stands for. And they changed it to Commander because Wizards of the Coast couldn't trademark. They couldn't use Elder Dragon Highlander on their products. So they switched the name to Commander because that was a name Wizards could use to market their products for the Commander decks, for example. But at the end of the day, there is an independent group of Magic players that are responsible for curating and cultivating the EDH experience. This is not something controlled by Wizards, although admittedly, they do have the ability to exert undue influence on the Commander Council, or whatever you want to call it. For example, when Unstable came out and they made all Unstable cards officially usable in the format for only a month, that felt like a marketing gimmick pushed by Wizards of the Coast, and the Commander Council just kind of acquiesced to it. And to me, I saw that as detrimental to the format. People just showing up randomly with dumb Unstable cards shoved in their Commander decks going, we can play these now, they're legal now, is just kind of a feel-bad scenario to me. But that is really the only example I can give where I think that the Commander Council is doing a poor job. Otherwise, I think they're doing a fantastic job. I'll get into more about that later. What I want to do now is actually explain the philosophy of Commander according to them based on a post. They've updated the official format philosophy, and it's this is the July 2019 edition. So it says, Commander is for fun. It's a socially interactive, multiplayer Magic the Gathering format full of wild interactions and epic plays, specifically designed as an alternative to tournament Magic. And note that part, because that's actually really important. It's specifically designed as an alternative to tournament Magic. As is fitting for a format in which you choose an avatar to lead your forces into battle, Commander focuses on a resonant experience. Each game is a journey the players share, relying on a social contract in which each player is considerate of the experiences of everyone involved. And this is another part I want to emphasize. It relies on a social contract in which each player is considerate of the experience of everyone involved. And this is unlike any other Magic format. So this promotes player interaction, intergame variance, a variety of playstyles, and a positive communal atmosphere. At the end of an ideal Commander game, someone will have won, but all participants will have had the opportunity to express themselves through their deck building and gameplay. The rules of Commander are designed to maximize the experiences within a game of Magic. The addition of a Commander, larger life total, and deck building restrictions emphasize the format's flavor. They increase deck variance and add more opportunities for participation and expression. The goal of the banned list is similar. It does not seek to regulate competitive play or power level, which are decisions best left to individual playgroups. The ban list seeks to demonstrate which cards threaten the positive player experience at the core of the format or prevent players from reasonable self-expression. The primary focus of the list is on cards which are problematic because of their extreme consistency, ubiquity, and or abilities to restrict others' opportunities. So, cards that obviously consistency explains itself. If you don't know what they mean by ubiquity, it means everybody's playing it. That's things like Paradox Engine. And ability to restrict others' opportunities, well, clearly that's where Iona falls in. No single rule can establish criteria for a ban. There are many mitigating or exacerbating factors. Some cards will represent an extreme on a single axis, others are a confluence of multiple smaller issues. The following list isn't exhaustive, nor is it a checklist, but it represents ways in which cards challenge the positive experiences players look for in Commander games. It includes cards which easily or excessively cause severe resource imbalances, allow players to win out of nowhere, prevent players from contributing to the game in a meaningful way. That's a big one for me, honestly. Cause other players to feel they must play certain cards, even though they are also problematic. So it's a race to the bottom scenario where it's like, you're going to play this awful stuff? Well, now I have to play this awful stuff. Are very difficult for other players to interact with, especially if doing so requires dedicated, narrow responses when deck building. interact poorly with the multiplayer nature of the format or the specific rules of Commander, or lead to repetitive gameplay. Honestly, I really like a lot of goals of Commander. Cards which are banned likely meet a few of these criteria in a significant way. Not all cards which meet some of the criteria need to be banned. We prefer to be conservative with what goes on or comes off the ban list. Commander players often become emotionally attached to their decks through play and personalization, and we value that experience highly. We only want to disrupt that bond when necessary. Commander is designed to be a malleable format. We encourage groups to use the rules and the ban list as a baseline to optimize their own experience. This is not licensed for an individual to force their vision onto a playgroup, but encouragement for players to discuss their goals and how the rules might be adjusted to suit those goals. The format can be broken. We believe games are more fun if you don't. Now that's very interesting to note. The way that Commander bannings are done, they're not done in a way where they say, we're going to ban every card that could be too broken in this format. That's how they do it with things like Standard and Modern and formats that are run specifically by Wizards of the Coast. They're very tournament focused. Commander is very much not that. It is a way to sit and have fun. Winning is nice, but that's not the end goal. Cards like Iona do not belong in Commander. They are very exclusionary. I 100% go, this is a good ban. This makes sense to me, honestly. Thumbs up for banning this. Good call, gentlemen. The Paradox engine as well, creating the ability to just constantly untap your Sol Ring, all your mana rocks, all that stuff over and over and over. I understand why that one got banned as well. That's the one that's making the most people angry, honestly. They're just going off about Paradox engine specifically. Iona's getting mentioned by some people too, but honestly, in my opinion, the people who are really like focused on using Iona are probably playing jerk style Magic. And jerk style Magic belongs in competitive Magic, not the casual Commander-esque sort of environment, right? Commander for me, I'm not a big multiplayer player, but I really admire the goals of Commander. And you can only have this kind of a format when it's not in the hands of Wizards. With this kind of ban, there's a bunch of people going, I wish Wizards of the Coast controlled this format. Wizards of the Coast, if they controlled the format, would use greed to monetize it even further, very clearly. And you would end up probably with an insane amount of cards banned in the format. And every time new cards came along, they would have to do more frequent bannings because Commander encompasses everything that Magic has to offer. So there isn't an exact, consistent, perfect set of rules in terms of this is what we're banning, and people's individual playgroups are allowed to customize and change things around. I really like the concept that Commander is essentially a gentleman's agreement that we're all here to have fun, and you're not going to try and stop me from playing the game or play super jerk cards, and I won't do the same to you. We're going to look for an ever-changing state of games where we're all playing on relatively the same power level, all having a good time for a communal experience of playing a game. There is a reason, my friends, that Commander is essentially the most popular format. Now, people will go, oh, well, Kitchen Table is more popular. I don't consider Kitchen Table to be a format. I just consider Kitchen Table to be play whatever, everyone's just doing kind of whatever, sitting around their houses. Commander is the next step up from Kitchen Table. Actually, as a format, has some governance, but they do it with a really light touch. Of course, they're going to have people screaming their heads off no matter what they do. There are people railing about the Painter Servant coming off the ban list and going, how much you want to bet that these guys went ahead and bought a bunch of Painter Servants before taking it off the ban list? Just going and looking at these people who run the command, they're running this Commander League, not Commander League, Commander Council, so that everyone will have a unified set of guidelines to follow. They're looking at these people and going, they're doing it for greed. This is what they're all about. When you can see that it is a passion project. That's what it is. Clearly, these are passionate individuals who want to take a light hand on the reins and only do as much as is necessary. So for me to sit there and turn around and go, oh, they're corrupt, they're buying up Painter Servants and doing this kind of stuff, is pretty skeezy. I mean, they said it themselves that people get attached to cards and they don't want to disrupt that. So you can see how much it matters. Honestly, when I was talking about the modern bans, there was way more people who wanted to talk about the Commander bans. way, way more vocal. It's amazing. Commander has a massive dedicated fan base, and I can see why. It's a very chill format, and I'm considering giving it more of a go, truthfully. I'm considering getting in and playing around. Part of the reason that kept me away from playing Commander before is because I found when I was building Commander decks, I was going, who's my Commander going to be? Oh, I'll play Kira Great Glass Spinner. And then I ended up building an awful blue deck that didn't seem like it was going to be any fun for anyone to play against. And I literally said to myself, look, dude, Commander is meant to be a chill environment and have fun. And what are you bringing to it? You're allowing this competitive nature at the time to make a warped deck. You don't want to be bringing this into Commander. This isn't going to be fun for everybody. If you're only interested in yourself when you're playing these games, you shouldn't be playing Commander. You should be looking for everybody to have a good time. You want to have a game that swings in multiple directions. You don't know who's going to win. People have answers to handle things, but you don't have to sit there and go, oh, everyone's going to have this card. I need to have answers to this card. Oh, this is warping the format. Everyone's going to be playing with this. All these sort of things need to be kept in check. And I honestly think that from an outsider's perspective, bear in mind, I'm not deep into Commander, so this is me looking in from the outside. To me, it seems like they're doing a good job. Literally, the only complaint I had about anything they did ever was that unstable thing. I think that was a poor choice, and I don't think they should have let Wizards push that on them as a marketing gimmick for unstable, just trying to push more booster sales. I think Commander should remain as a separate entity from Wizards of the Coast as much as possible, because in my opinion, they're doing a better job than Wizards of the Coast would managing the format. Now, I want to give a special thanks to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for supporting my channel, and a big shout out to Andrew Castellana for joining up. Thanks for being a part of what I do. And I'm history, baby.